today is part one of a three-part series where we break down not only what the system is, but how it works, and most importantly, why it works. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. So this is our dark horse model, okay? And what it comes down to, folks, is I figured this out along the way of going from never having taken a listing, right? I was always on a team of 2 or 3 or 4, right? Always on a team, right? Never the one doing all the talking because I was always a junior agent. I went from that to taking 24 in my first year as a listing agent. Why? Not because I'm magical, but because I had a system. And once I figured out the system, imagine going from never having taken a listing before to taking 24 in the next 12 months. Guys, take 12, type the number 24 in the chat if you'd like to take 24 listings in the next 12 months, okay? I promise you, there are way smarter people out there than me. I promise you, there's some harder working people out there than me. But I tell you what, I was tenacious and I was willing to do what's possible, and I had a system, okay? So what I want to show you guys is the system is very, very simple. It's 3 phases. Think of it like a video game. I use this analogy all the time. With a video game, it's like it doesn't matter how good you are at steps at level 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 if you can't get to level 2, 3. Think of it like a baseball analogy. If you're on home plate and you can't get onto first, you don't even have to worry about second, third, or home plate or like, because you'll never get to round the bases. Okay. So what we have here is 3 levels that each have 3 steps. Okay. So the ready, okay, step is basically, this is how you prepare yourself. Okay. Basically, it has 3 steps, and we'll get into those in just a second. Okay. The next one is aim. This is, okay, once we got an appointment, this is how we take aim at getting the listing. And then finally, the acquire step is, okay, once I got the listing, now how do I cash that in for a check? Okay. So today we're going to be talking about how to prepare, because this is just like being on home plate and striking out, striking out, striking out. If you never get to first base, you're never going to get a home run. All right. So when you, and I want you guys to write this down. Okay. When you are implementing the very first step, the ready step, you have to be doing 3 things. You have to be reaching out to the right person with the right message and at the right time. Now, think of it this way, folks, okay? The way we are reaching out to the right people is we are only reaching out to people that need our help. I'll give you a doctor analogy. For some reason, medical analogies kind of work on everybody. Let's say you are a fresh out of medical school. You just passed your medical boards, okay? And you're a doctor. And all you want to do is help sick people. You could walk up and down Main Street and talk to, I don't know, 400 or 500 people. And sooner or later, you're going to get a handful of people that are sick. You say, are you sick? Are you sick? Are you sick? And sooner or later, you're going to find someone to help. Cool. But wouldn't it make a whole lot more sense for you to set up a chair maybe outside the emergency room door? And as the ambulance is pulling up, for you to ask, as they're pulling someone off on a stretcher, excuse me, ma'am, excuse me, sir, are you sick? Can I help you? Right? Type a 100 in the chat if that makes a whole lot of sense why you would do that, right? Because the most important thing you guys can understand is we all have 24 hours in the day. There is no medal for working harder than the next person, okay? All that matters is results. So if you can work smarter, okay, you're going to be light years ahead of the person walking up and down Main Street and sweating their butt off in the hot September sun. You with me, guys? Okay. So who here, type smarter in the chat if you want to work smarter, not harder. Okay. So that's where one of the pieces comes from. Okay. When I talk about reaching out to the right person, that's the most important part. You know why? Because if you're walking up and down Main Street, reaching out to the wrong people, it is literally 5 times, 10 times harder to do that than it is to just set up shop, work a little bit, work with your brain, not with your brawn, okay? Set up shop outside the emergency room door and help sick people coming off an ambulance. Does that make sense, guys? If that's a light bulb for any of you, type an exclamation point in the chat, okay? So the first thing is we want to be reaching out to the right people, people that we have reason to believe need our help, okay? with the right message is very, very simple. We have scripts that open doors that no one else can. And I say that emphatically only because they work over and over and over again. Not only have I done my own 35,000 cold calls, but I've taught this method to over 250 people. The point is we have refined a system that works over and over and over again. But there's a reason for it. Okay? Think of it this way, folks. When you know the reason behind every single word you're saying, every comma, every pause, every question that you ask, do you think you'll have an advantage? Type yes or no in the chat, guys. Do you think you would have an advantage if you knew how to stay, if you knew, number one, what the outcome of the meeting was supposed to be? Oh, I should say the outcome of the call was supposed to be. You knew how to greet them to lower their guard. You knew what questions to ask them to qualify them whether or not they're motivated. And then you knew how to get around the common objections of getting a meeting. How many of you guys, type a yes in the chat, would feel a whole lot more confident in picking up the phone if you had a system most importantly, a script? You're reaching out to the right person with the right message so that you knew what to say, you knew how to say it, and when they tried to pull you off track, you knew how to get them back on track because you knew how to handle objections. You with me, guys? Okay. So when you have a system, it allows you to have the same conversation over and over again. Okay. Type me in the chat if you hate bad scripts. How many of you guys have ever gotten a call from a bad telemarketer? Maybe from overseas with a bad, connection, and you could tell that they're reading off a script, right? Guys, we all hate bad scripts. Okay. But I got news for you, folks. Everybody do me a favor, all right? Type in the chat what your favorite movie is, right? I'm a big movie buff. Love movies. Always have. All right? Type your favorite movie in the chat. I want to prove a point real quick. My Cousin Vinny. I love it. Great, great movie. All right, who else? Anybody else? Not to mention your biological clock, right? Top Gun. Goose, I was inverted, right? Wedding Crashers. Love it. There's some good ones here. Okay. So the point is, folks, all right, every single one of you that's typing their favorite movie in here, their favorite song, their favorite play, okay? Every single one of those started as words on a piece of paper. The Notebook. Oh my God. Yeah. Pursuit of Happiness. Yeah. These are all these movies moved you. How many of you ever cried watching The Notebook? I cried like a little girl with a skin knee. I ain't gonna lie, right? Damn you, Nicholas Sparks. The point is, it all started as letters on a page, but it was performed well. It was performed with tonality. They pulled you into their reality. Why? Because they knew how to deliver those letters on a page. Does that make sense, guys? Is that a light bulb for any of you? Type an exclamation point in the chat if that's a light bulb for you. Okay. So this is universal, guys. We all hate bad cold callers. We don't train bad cold callers. You know what we do? We teach you to have the right message to the right person and at the right time, which brings me to the next point, at the right time. Now, I don't have a crystal ball. Unfortunately, I wish I did, but I don't. So we never know when the right time is going to be. But because we already filtered for the right person, and because we know we're delivering the right message, at the right time happens by reaching out to them at a specific cadence, at a specific set of intervals. When you know what those intervals are, you're able to hit that sweet spot. Because think of it this way, folks, right? Somewhere in between reaching out to one person 1,000 times, stalker, or reaching out to 1,000 people one time, very ineffective because you never build a relationship, right? Somewhere in the middle, there's a sweet spot. And in that sweet spot is where you build rapport, you build a relationship, and you build trust. What do all of your previous clients have in common, folks? What do all of them have in common? Think about it. They all know, they all like, and they all trust you. Why? Because you performed for them. That's why they're a previous client, because you helped them sell their property, buy a property, lease property, what have you. Does that make sense? Is this landing, guys? Type a 100 in the chat if this is landing, okay? So what I want you all to understand is, okay, when you're reaching out to the right person with the right message and at the right time, at the right cadence, you know, you're not calling one person 1,000 times. That's freaking weird. You're not calling 1,000 people once, but somewhere in the middle, you're hitting that sweet spot over and over and over again, so that sooner or later they're like, you know what? Yeah, I think I'm going to give Marlon that meeting. You know what? I think I'm going to. Eltery seems like a nice person. Oh, you know what? Dave seems like a good dude. Yeah, I'm going to let him come over. Right? Make sense? You guys married? Right? Right? Did you guys get married on the first date? I haven't heard anyone get married off the first date since like World War II. Right? Okay? No one does that stuff anymore. That's weird. Okay. Similarly, the first time you pick up the phone and you talk to someone, they're probably going to be like, "Who is this weirdo?" Ladies, pop on your mic, your cameras. I want to show hands. Hey, ladies, right? How many of you would think it was weird if a dude asked you to marry you on the first date? Thank you, Julie. That's honest. Tracy, thank you. Yes, Amber. Okay, Laura, thank you. I rest my case. Okay. So if you think you're just going to call somebody up and they're going to be like, "Yep, I'm going to marry you," you got another thing coming. All right. It does happen sometimes. Okay. Sometimes we talk to someone on the first call, we get the meeting, we get the listing, bang. Sometimes it happens, but the majority of the time, you're going to need to develop a little bit of trust. You're going to need to develop a little rapport, and you're going to need to develop a little bit of, relationship. You're going to need to, I guess the best way is just rapport. So there's a relationship, right? So that's why the fundamental piece of our system is the get ready part. Why? Because we are literally, think about what we're trying to do, folks. Okay. When we're trying to go out to take a listing, we're trying to call a stranger out of the clear blue sky and talk them into them giving us a half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour of their time to meet them at their place of business with someone that they've never seen before. Do you guys realize like how skilled you have to be able to do it? Okay. Do you also recognize that's why 10% of the agents make 90% of the money? Guys, type 90%. If you recognize that. The good agents, the ones that figure this stuff out, because this is not easy, but it can be learned, and our system allows you to learn it, okay? If you want to be in the 10% of agents that make 90% of the money, you need a system. Because if they're making 90% of the money, I promise you, they're not doing it on accident. They might make it look easy, but they're doing very specific things on purpose. Does that make sense, guys? Type a 100 in the chat if you're with me, all right? So good to see you folks. I'll see you soon. Look forward to speaking with you, and I will see you next week. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.